You know, we all spend so much time watching television, but have you ever really stopped to think about how it's all put together? Well, today, we're going to peel back the layers and decode the hidden blueprint that secretly shapes every single show you love. Let's dive in.
So let me start with a little riddle for you. What could an animated platypus, the US government, and a brand new iPad possibly have in common? I know it sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, but trust me, the answer is the key to understanding how television actually works.
And the answer is, they all expose the underlying architecture of TV. Yeah. From the way a story is structured to the pressures of big business, these completely random things, they reveal the blueprint for how TV gets made, why it looks the way it does, and how it influences all of us.
Okay, so let's start with the absolute foundation of this blueprint, the story itself. And the very first question you should ask yourself when you start a new show is this: was this thing designed with an actual ending in mind, or was it built to just go on forever?
It really boils down to two dominant models. On one hand, you've got the definite end model. This is super common in British TV. You know, those short, tight seasons with maybe 6 or 8 episodes where the writers know exactly where they're going from day one. And then you have the American network model, the infinite middle. These are the shows built for 22-episode seasons, year after year, where the whole goal is to just keep the story going, delaying that ending for as long as humanly possible.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. When the British show Queer as Folk got an American remake, its own creator, Russell Davies, pointed this out. He knew that taking a story from 8 episodes to 22 didn't just make it longer, it completely changed its DNA. It became a whole different animal. You want a perfect case study? Look at the show Life on Mars. The UK original? It was a tight 2-season story with a planned-out ending. But the US remake? Well, it was built to be an infinite middle. Mystery box, kind of like the show Lost, all about asking big questions with no real answers in sight. But then, the US version got canceled. Suddenly the writers had to scramble and tack on a definite end. The result? 2 shows, same exact premise, but with wildly different endings, all because of their production model.
Okay, so the foundation of our blueprint is the story's shape. Now, let's add the next layer, the actual people who live inside that story. How does television create its characters, and how does it try to represent entire communities on screen?
You know, TV doesn't exist in a vacuum. It has to respond to what's happening in the real world. In the years after 9/11, a lot of shows fell back on some pretty easy stereotypes. But a huge, massive hit like 24, it actually made a conscious effort to add some nuance. It went out of its way to show Arab and Muslim characters as patriotic Americans or as victims, and even explored the complex reasons someone might be pulled down a darker path. It was a deliberate attempt to fight a stereotype on one of the biggest stages in the world.
And the way a show builds its characters, it really defines the entire world you're watching. Think about it. On one side, you have the slick, idealized detective pinups from a show like Miami Vice, right? All cool cars and glamour. But on the other side, you have the cops from Homicide: Life on the Street. These are just regular, frustrated, grousing partners who treat a murder scene like it's just another bad day at the office. Same job, but 2 completely different realities for us as viewers.
So, drama is one thing. But what about comedy? Can humor actually be a weapon? Can you use it to tackle really difficult stereotypes and social issues? It's a tool that can be incredibly powerful, but boy, is it risky.
Let's take a show like Family Guy, which is famous for pushing boundaries. In one scene set in a 1950s diner, the black character, Cleveland, gets blasted by a police fire hose. His reaction? A totally deadpan, "Oh, that takes me back." It is deeply jarring, and the laugh, if there is one, comes from pure shock. But what that joke is actually doing is forcing an uncomfortable direct confrontation with the brutal reality of the civil rights era. It's using absurdity to shine a light on a really painful truth.
All right, so we've got the story's foundation, and we've put characters in it, but none of this gets built without money. In television, commerce and creativity are totally intertwined, and the need to turn a profit shapes what you see on screen in ways you probably don't even notice.
This right here might be the single most blatant and successful example of product placement in modern TV. An entire episode of the global hit Modern Family revolved around a main character being desperate to get the new Apple iPad. And the kicker? The episode aired just days before the real iPad was released to the public. This wasn't just product placement. It was basically a 22-minute, incredibly entertaining commercial disguised as a sitcom.
And oh, it goes so much deeper than just putting a product in a scene. The commercial ties can run deep. Take a show like Gossip Girl, Viewers were actually encouraged to go online and buy clothes inspired by the characters, turning the show into a direct-to-consumer storefront. And then you've got shows like Entertainment Tonight. It looks like news, right? But it was produced by Paramount and was explicitly designed to be a press agent's dream, a promotional machine for its own studio's movies and stars.
Okay, we've talked about the writers who design the story, the characters living in it, and the corporations that pay for it all. But there is one final, totally unpredictable piece of this blueprint. You, the audience. Because sometimes the fans have the power to just tear up the original plans and write their own ending.
To really get this, we have to step into the world of cult television. Now, this isn't just a show with a lot of fans. No, a cult show is different. It's often weird or challenging or way ahead of its time, and it inspires this incredibly passionate, active, and loyal fan base that will defend it to the bitter end.
The classic example is the 1960 series The Prisoner. I mean, with its surreal visuals, its baffling philosophy, and a story that was a total puzzle, it was completely alien to audiences at the time. Most people who saw it were just bewildered. By any normal measure, it should have been a forgotten flop.
But it wasn't. A small but fiercely dedicated group of fans simply refused to let it die. They wrote about it, they debated it, they kept its memory alive for decades. And their passion was so infectious that over time the show got completely recontextualized. It went from being a confusing failure to a TV classic. The fans, they literally rewrote the show's history.
And that brings us to a final, really critical question for television right now. In this age of social media campaigns, fan petitions, and streaming revivals, who really holds the power? Is it the creators who draw up the blueprint, or is it the fans who can demand they build something entirely new? It's something to think about the next time you press play.